All right, what's up, kids? All right, so up to beta flight here. If you notice right here, at 57%. Now, this particular board, believe, comes without. Well, I'm just gonna say it is because most of them do. Most of them come without bidirectional D-shot on. Bidirectional D-shot puts a lot of load on your CPU, but it's completely worth it. So if you have a board that literally can't handle it, but I promise you, there's a way. See how far it went down to 36%. All my quads have bidirectional. Period. There is end of discussion. It is far better. But anyway, if you turn this on, this is the way I like to run. I like D-Shot 600. I want bidirectional D-Shot on. I want RPM filtering on, and I want my PID loop frequency as high as possible. Oops. So in your configuration tab, this is your PID loop frequency. A couple different ways to get your CPU load down is going to be to drop this. Before I do that, just to let you know, this board right here is not connected to anything. It has no receiver, has no VTX, it has no peripherals whatsoever that's going to cause it even more load. This is no ESC, nothing's turned on. As a matter of fact, watch what happens when I plug this in. We're at 57%, and now it's going to have to talk to the ESC. Okay, so now we've just that right there, we've added what, 8%, 9% to the CPU load just by plugging in ESC. Once you add a GPS and all the rest of the peripherals, it's going to be even higher. You'll start to run into problems. I promise you, you will have problems if your CPU load is this high. Usually, and the problem you're going to have is this. If you hit tasks, and that's it, and you go here, if you look at your PID loop, this is just your PIDs. It is taking up 67% of the brain of that little tiny processor that's on board there. So you need this to run. This is everything right here. Okay, everything else around it is just to support this. This is what makes the movement, and it's just everything. So anyway, we have to get this down. So let's, before we do the overclock, because it's kind of a last thing you want to do. If you're not having any problems, if you are below 50% or give or take a percent or two, no issues, do not overclock it. It doesn't change anything. It's not going to make anything work faster or you fly better or anything like that. It just needs enough headroom to make the PIDs roll. That's it. So it's a one of those things that should be used as a tool, and not to think that your quad is overclocked and somehow that's going to make things work better, because you may end up heating up your processor and actually may go backwards. So only do this if you're having problems. But it does happen a lot. F411 boards are just, they're just dumb. Some of them are tough as hell, but they're just dumb. So anyway, a couple different ways that we can get it to where I like to have it, and what I do is I want it on 8K. Well, let me show you this too. So if, I don't think I showed you this. If I drop this, watch the CPU usage. Oops, I don't think okay, so now look at my CPU usage. But that's at a price, okay? So there's a trade-off. What happens is your CPU usage is a little free, but it's processing the PIDs slower, but it's actually processing them. This is better than 67% at 8K. It is 100% better, because nothing is good if it's failing, and it will fail. So let's say we get to that point, as in this flight controller, and I want to run all the peripherals, and I want to do everything, and I want to run 8K, and I'm understand the risks, and I want to get my CPU usage where it should be to process the PIDs correctly. I think I hit something here. All right. All right. We'll put this back up to 8K, which is where I want to be, right? And I want to run D-Shot 600. And I want to run bidirectional D-Shot. So let's plug back in the ESC, see what happens, see where we're at, see where our max load is. Also, when you run bidirectional D-Shot, you'll see this come up right here. If you see this all red and you plug in a battery and it doesn't turn white, your ESC is not compatible most likely, or something is wrong. If you have one that's red, you have something wrong. If you start to see multiple errors, it could be due to your CPU load. 100%. If you start to see errors up here, you will check your CPU load. Stuff like that, you're going to start to see just twitches. It may just act funky, you know, things that just don't make any sense. When the CPU load starts to, you know, get overwhelmed, I mean, just anything that's a weakness within it that's probably what's going to be affected most, and that could literally be anything. So if you can't figure it out, just check that out. I fixed several quads with just adjusting some of these parameters to get that CPU load down under 50%. So here goes. First, you always want to go get. I just hit get on everything. See where your parameters are, no matter what you're doing. Launch mode doesn't matter. This get CPU. And once you do this, and it says overclock, you can just hit the tab button. It'll autofill. Hit sorry, and that's it. Hit that. So right now we're off. Okay, and this is the way the board comes. So I knew once that I had all my stuff on there, that's not acceptable. So I did the last thing that I wanted to do, and, you know, whatever. So set CPU equals, it's going to give you options, okay? Some flight controllers will give you more options, but it didn't used to be this way. This is kind of good for beta flight to allow you to still have access to overclock it, but it gives somewhat of an acceptable range. Some flight controllers give you two, some give you three different options, you know, 240, 110, whatever, or 120, I think. Anyway, so you can just, you know, click, go there, and right now we're at 65%, save. And with this particular flight controller, before I was spinning these up, and I would spin the motor down, and it would say 0 up here, but it would be reading RPMs, and the motors would still spin. I overclocked it, and it went away. We're still pretty high, but it's acceptable. It was flyable. I didn't notice any problems, but the closer you can get to that, that's where you want to be. Again, F7s, they are not created equal. Just because, you know, Mamba makes one and Fox here, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just a crapshoot. These manufacturers, the reason some of them are cheaper is because they kind of deal in bulk, and they put the stuff out there. A lot of times it's good, but they get some that's bad. And but I think it's a lot of it's all a crapshoot sometimes. But you know, that's one thing you can do to solve a problem with a dumb board. That's it. All right.